Hello everyone, I'm Chunzia Damanuti, Marketing Coordinator here at SmartSimple. I'd like to welcome you to this webinar entitled Fundamentals of List Views. Last quarter we focused on security. For this quarter we'll be focusing on reporting. This will be the first of 3 webinars in the Reporting Tools series. Before we begin, I would like to remind you about SmartSimple Events that we have in store for you this year. Block Party Toronto registration is now at capacity. For those who have already registered, we are excited to see you on April 19th. If not, we also have other block parties across North America. Registration for Block Party San Francisco is now open. It will be taking place on May 24th. This year, the venue host will be the State Bar of California. Also expect more hands-on learning and networking opportunities. Make sure you save the date for the following SmartSimple events: Block Party Chicago, June 7th, Block Party New York City, September 6th, Nashville, October 17th, and our biggest event of the year, Elevate 2018, Nashville, October 17th to 19th. We also have some webinars already lined up for April, such as Aligning Your Community Foundation Goals and Staff, and How to Better Measure, Evaluate, and Communicate Your Philanthropic Impact. Don't forget to register at smartsimple.com/events and be sure to look out for a lot of great content we have planned for you in 2018. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenter. Nancy Sabot has been with SmartSimple since October 2017 and is a technical account advisor. We are lucky to have her as she brings 15 years of customer support experience. Fun fact about Nancy, she is scuba certified and is always looking for new places to dive. During the webinar, you're welcome to ask your questions by typing it into the chat box within your Zoom console. Otherwise, feel free to ask all your questions at the end of the presentation. And now I'd like to pass it over to Nancy to get started.
Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar. My name is Nancy. I'll be your host from support for today. We'll start with a brief slideshow to go over some basics, and then we'll switch to a live demonstration of the topics that we cover in the slideshow, followed by a brief Q&A session. So let's get started with what you'll learn today in our List View Fundamentals webinar. First, we'll go over how to create and configure a list view, the different types of list views, exporting list views for recording purposes, my personal favorite, the beauty of quick edit, and we'll go over a quick extra reporting topic, how to configure list view charts. And with that, so what do? What are they? List views control how we view any information in any of our UTAs. So whether we're talking about a submission manager, a claims manager, a grant manager, anytime someone logs in, be it an employee, an applicant, system administrator, anytime they want to view information in any UTA, sometimes even as soon as they log in, what they're going to see is a list view and is controlled by a list view. So the importance of these can't really be overstated. You use them every day and work with them every day. And as you can see in our slide here, I have an example of my list view that I created for today's webinar, and we'll be taking that apart live in just a few minutes. So why are they great? First, they're configurable, highly so. You can include the fields that you want, both standard and custom, and leave out what you don't want to see. So you really can customize what people see on a daily basis. They're also very simple and user-friendly. You can learn them easily and modify them. I find them quite intuitive. You can also really break them down by permissioning them out on a role basis. So for example, applicants only see things that are important to them, whereas people who need to pull reports will see more granular numeric information because that's how you set up their list view, and so on. And of course, you can also set up basic reporting functions for people who may not have administrative access to reporting proper, but who will need to pull basic bird's eye level of information from, say, your grant manager or your funds manager, and that's where the charts and exports come in. There are 2 types of list views. System list views can be portioned out to a particular role. Again, for example, system administrators will be able to see a lot more than, say, someone who is an applicant, and you can permission them accordingly. They can be added to user portals so that people logging in under a specific role can be met with a specific list view. For example, a reviewer can log in and see everything that is currently pending review as soon as they log in, and they don't have to go anywhere, they don't have to click anything. It'll be the first thing they see as they log in. They can also be used in tandem with and linked up with search filters. So for example, if you only want a list view to show a specific status or that things that are assigned to a specific user, you can do that as well by building the filter first and then attaching it to your system level list view. And as we said before, they can also be exported so that your list view, if it has information that you'd like to show, for example, as part of a report, if you'd like to make a pivot table, you can export it easily and pull it out. In contrast, a personal list view is only belonging to and visible to the person who created it. So if you create a personal list view, it's for you alone. You can create whatever you like and expose it to as many different fields as you like, but no one else will be able to see it. And these can also be exported. So again, if you have something specific you want to show somebody from your list view, you can do that. Okay, where to find your list views, depending on what version of SmartSimple you're using, might be a little different. For people using the later versions of Arcadia X, you will find them in your UTA configuration settings, and they'll be available in the same location on your levels 1, 2, and 3 tabs. You'll notice it has its own section, list view settings. For people who are still in classic mode, it will be in a similar location, just without its own section. So here is, when you go into a list view, for example, the first thing you'll be met with is several tabs, the first one being the Properties tab. Here's the Properties tab for my list view, and we'll briefly go over some of the things here. You can name your list view whatever you like. Obviously, the more clear you make it, the better. Make it something that makes sense, especially if you're making a system list view for other people to use. You can change the open button label if you'd like the open button to say view record, for example. You can do that. You can permission it out by role. Mine is set to everyone, so regardless of who you are and what access you have, you can see my list view. And a few of the other more commonly used options, you can open something in edit mode, basically, which is when you open any record from a list view, you won't have to toggle between view mode and edit mode. It'll automatically open in edit mode, so you can immediately change whatever information that you'd like. Enable quick edit is an extra button that we can toggle on and create. I will show you that in our demo. One of my favorite hidden gems. Enable row clickable means you don't necessarily have to use an open button to open any record in a list view. You can click anywhere in the row and the whole thing will open up automatically. Enable map panel deals with geographic information. That's a slightly more complex part of list view properties. We won't show you that on this one because it will basically pull up geographic information for any of your records and it'll obscure what we're trying to show you. But it is something really cool that you can look up on your own or in our future webinars. The enable download files option, you can basically download files if you have any upload fields in your list views or in your records rather. You can select to download those files without ever having to open anything. And then of course configuration only is useful if you're creating a list view specifically for people who are logging into a user portal, and so those won't be visible under your selection drop down for list views. Your second tab here is for columns. This is where you set up which fields you want to see. You can specify how many columns you'd like to have it show. You can put more than 8. Maximum that we let you do is 30. Although please be aware that the more columns you put in, the more you have to scroll over depending on your screen size. So it may be a little too much in terms of how much data you show people. You can caption your columns whatever you'd like. Your content template is where you would select the field that you actually want to pull in. You should be able to select either standard or custom fields alike. Please note you do not actually type in the content template field. You literally just select with your mouse the cell number or column number you'd like, and then select on the right whichever field you'd like to include, and then the variable will appear there in the content template window. You also have a few different design-based options here with regards to aligning the text or font colors or boldness. You can turn on showing an open button, for example, in each row if you'd like. And again, if you have entire row clickable turned on in your Properties tab, it's not entirely necessary, but some clients like to have them both on. It's totally your preference. The Sort Order tab is a simple little tool. It basically lets you decide, as soon as you load the list view, which field you'd like it to sort by in either ascending or descending order. Some people like to do it by submission ID. Some people like to do it by date field. Other people like to do it by organization name. You can do whichever you like, or you can leave it on its own, and then each of the header columns, column headers rather, are also clickable, so you can sort them that way in your list view when you're there. You can export, as we said before, one of the more powerful tools in your list view. You can set up specific smart folders and template files to use so that it's formatted in a certain way when you export your list view. That said, you can also leave all of that blank and just enable it on its own, and that way you won't get any special formatting, but everything will still pull down into an Excel spreadsheet, and you can then manipulate the data however you like. And then finally, you also have the ability to batch update from your list view. And my personal favorite tool, my other personal favorite tool, I apparently have several, is that you can create your own special batch update buttons to update an entire group of selected records based on whatever criteria you specify. And I'll show you what that means and why it's so cool in our demo. All right, time for our demonstration, so let's take a look. So now, let's just share this. Okay, so here is, oh, let me see, here's my list view, fancy webinar. I can see all the other list views that have been created. There are no personal list views currently for myself, but if I had created any, they would also be listed here. So you notice I've got several buttons across the top for a new application. There's the default batch update button. Here's one called Webinar Decline. We'll get to that in a moment. You can export. You can edit the view if you'd like, and you can reload it. You also, of course, have your search bar and your pagination, because I have over 3,500 records. It wouldn't be a good idea to try to load them all at once. This way I can page back and forth. So we were talking about properties. So let's go in, and I'll show you the properties for my list view. So I went into the configuration settings for my grants UTA. This is the application level 1 tab. I'll go into list views, and there's my webinar list view. Okay. So here's my properties tab. I've labeled my open button label. I've labeled my open button open rather, and I can also rename my quick edit button if I want to name it something special. So I'm going to do something, I'm just going to name it QE for short. Currently permission for everyone to see it. And you notice I both have open in edit mode and enable quick edit turned on. I'll also turn on enable row clickable so I can click anywhere in my record and open it. And I'll save that. Now I'll go in here to my list view. All right. And so now you notice my Smart Edit button now says QE because I renamed it. It's exactly the same thing, I just named it something else. An entire row clickable is also on, so if I click here, for example, I open up the record I clicked on, and it's also, as you noticed, in Edit View, which was also turned on for my list view. So back to our Properties tab. Let me show you one that's kind of cool. If I turn on Manifest as Tab, and this is Arcadia only, if I click Save, it needs a filter. So I'm going to just choose one. Hit Save. I'll reload the frame here. Now you notice my list view is gone because it's been created as a tab up here and it's permanent. It's exactly the same as it was before, I just can't select it from here. Maybe you have a list view that you're going to be using a lot or that people are going to be using daily and you want it to be something that's easily found. You can totally use this Manifest as Tab option for that purpose. And I'm just going to turn this off. And again, here is your configuration only, your enable downloadable files. Let's turn that on and I'll show you what it does. So again, I'm going to reload my frame. I need to be in my own list view, of course. There we go. Okay. Now, you notice I've got an extra button here. It says Download Files. I'm just going to select a few things at random here. And if I click the Download Files button, it'll give me a list of all of the upload file fields that are available for the level ones that I've selected. So I can decide which files I'd like to download just by clicking them. I don't have to open any of the records or select anything in the records. I can do it right from here. And I even have a few download options here. And I have the activity fields available as well. And again, I don't have to open anything. I don't have to navigate to anything. I can do them for right here. So for example, you have applicants uploading PDFs, or there are budget reports, or video files that applicants are uploading, or pictures. All of those upload file fields are available to download the attachments directly right from here. All of that from just turning on one small thing in your list view. We'll go over quickly to our Columns tab. This is where I set up what I wanted to see in my list view. So if I click on one of the cells here, you notice I had it says project title ID. That just happens to be the name of the field. I left it that way because it made sense. You can totally put more than one field in a single column if you'd like. Please note that if you forget to move your mouse over and you click on an extra field, it'll put them both in because it won't realize that you want to move over. So be very careful. Also remember, you don't actually, you're not supposed to type anything in the content template field here. It's only for the field variables that you'd like to have displayed for your list view. And again, you can turn on Show Open button, and all you have to do is select the, same for Quick Edit, select the cell where you'd like it to appear, make sure you turn the button on, and save. Sort order we've already discussed. I haven't done anything with it, but I can totally select any of these to sort by. And again, most people like to do organization or like an ID field or a date field. You can do whichever makes sense to you based on how you filled out your list view. Exporting, again, we talked about this briefly. Literally all you need to do is enable the export if that's what you're comfortable with. I will show you what it looks like if you don't set up anything specific. So I'm just going to hit export. I haven't selected anything. And it's already downloaded my file, which I will need to share with you in just a second as soon as it comes up. Okay, there we go. And here's my downloaded file. It's got the header right here. Now let's go back to my browser. There we go. Okay. Get rid of this. Here is my Smart Edit tab. This only shows up if you turn on the Quick Edit button for your list view. And here you can tell it which fields you'd like to update without actually opening a record. So let's show you what that does. So I'm going to click on Quick Edit, say for this one. It's a draft status. I want to update something. And you notice it shows me all of the columns that I've selected on my other column, on my other tab within my list view setup. Please note it only shows the fields that you've selected as your column headings. That's by design. So for example, let's say I want to update the status of this to submitted. And it's changed right here. I haven't had to open anything. I haven't had to do anything else. All I had to do was click my QE button for Quick Edit, update it in the modal window, save, and I'm done. And then finally, my favorite thing, I've created a batch update button. Now this is not the regular batch update button that you would regularly see here, which is this one. This one is the regular batch update where you can choose a whole bunch of different fields to update, including status, organization, and what have you. The one I've created, and I'll open it up here, is a specific one on the status field, and it's to decline anything that I happen to select. So I'll show you what I mean. Now you notice I've got an extra field, where did it go? A webinar decline is what it's called, so you can name it whatever you like as well. So I'm just going to select stuff here. Initial staff review, approve, submitted. Let's say I want to decline a whole bunch of things without doing it at once. I can do a regular batch update as well, but I can also do it this way. There we go. And now you notice they've been taken out of my list view because it's only looking for certain statuses. So they no longer show up at all. If I want to see them, I can change my, my search criteria and they'll show up. But I basically just batch declined a handful of applications from my one button here. And the last thing I want to show everybody is the list view chart. And these are primarily used for role permissioning for people who log in through their portal and want a quick bird's eye view of how, for example, their fund is doing or how many grants they've approved. So we do it by user role. We've got some created here for system administrator under the main menu. So you notice we have a couple of charts listed here. We have actual by program and target versus actual dots listed. I'll go by actual by program just to show you. So make sure type says chart, and you can name it whatever you like. You can set your layout settings if you want it to take up 50% of your screen, all of your screen, a few different style options like a background color. Select the chart list view that you've already created. And again, naming it something that makes sense to you is a good idea so you can find it, especially if you have lots of them. Select your chart type, what you'd like your X and Y axis to be, as well as how you'd like them labeled. And you notice this calculation that it's running is literally just the sum. So if I want to see it, make sure that I'm system administrator, go to my home page, and here we go. And the fun part with these is they're clickable. So if I click here, it'll actually drill down on program type. And I can back out of this by clicking the button, and I get back to where I was originally. So these list view charts are super powerful tools for, again, people who want to see really quickly as they log in how things are doing. They may not have reporting access, but this way they don't necessarily have to, because between list view charts and list view exports, they have access to a fair bit of data already. So let me go back. That concludes our demo, and now on to question and answer. That's better.
Okay, and now we're going to open up the floor for any questions for Nancy. So first one is, as was mentioned, please review how to edit filters and save the changes so it doesn't create a duplicate filter, and how to delete filters / list views.
Okay, so to create, filters are created within your global settings as opposed to within your UTA. So you would go into the 9-square menu up in the upper right corner, select global settings, and then on that first tab that shows up, provided you're in Arcadia, you should have a search filters option where you can create all of your filters, and they will automatically be broken out by UTA, for example, a user filter versus one for your grant manager versus a fund manager, and that way you will be able to see them all in one space and edit them from that same place should you require it. If you want to delete a list view, you can do that from within that same list view list. I can show you here for just a second, 1 moment, and we'll go back to my browser. Okay, so I'm going to go back out. So I'm going to go by level 1 list views, click on list views here, and so you notice they're all listed here. So if I go to mine, for example, scroll down really fast. I can delete it from the bottom here. And you notice it's warning me, hey Nancy, you sure you want to delete? I don't actually want to delete anything. So I'm going to click on no real fast. There we go. And so that's how we would delete a list view. And it's very sensitive. And again, as we were talking about, if you want to talk about filters, you go into global settings, and it's search filters down here. And they're all listed by UTA type, as well as things like your staff and contact filters and what have you. And you can see them all. You can get a really quick bird's eye view of what they do and what they can, who can see them. Let me go back to my home screen. They're really, filters are a super powerful tool when you mix them up with, connect them with your list views. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Great. Next question is, I have noticed that the exported Excel spreadsheet is an older version, from 97 to 2003. So I must update the file type when I save. Will this be updated?
We can totally check into that for you and get back to you after the webinar. That may come down to an enhancement request. I believe currently it's the way it is to prevent file format issues with people who may have older versions of Office. But we can totally take that down and double check and check back with you after the webinar to make sure.
Perfect. Next one, can you export list view charts?
Let's see here, I'll just put this out of the way. So I'm already on my See, I can print the images based on, for example, I can download a PDF document, a JPEG. I can print it from here if I'd like. So the answer to that is, to a point, yes, it won't be interactive like it is on the website, but you can, if, for example, you want an image to put into your own PowerPoint presentation, you can totally do that, yes.
Great. Next one I have is, will you please review the map type list view? How do you get back out of the view? The list views and the split screen options seem to disappear.
So I believe we have an advanced list views webinar coming up in May that should talk more about the geomapping. If you're talking about and that should also cover things like the split screen and how to get in and out of the mapping function. That should cover that topic for you. You should please do watch your email for information about that, and do definitely sign up for it.
Next one is, when my users are not system admins and want to create a personal list view, they seem to have to start from scratch. It'll be very convenient if they would go to a system list view and copy and save it as a personal list view, after which they could further edit or add a filter. Is this possible for a user who is not system admin?
To my knowledge, you can't copy a list view, especially from system to personal. I would venture a guess and say that would probably end up being, if you want some sort of a pre-populated, say, default setup that they could then customize, that would probably end up being an enhancement for development and product to consider for a future upgrade.
Great. Yep. So how do you create a list view page on a logon, my role, or clicking on portal links, or by role, sorry?
So that was the configuration only list view setting that we talked about. So if, for example, I go back to grants, configuration settings, I'm just going to pretend we're talking about the L1s again. So again, I'm just going to use my list view because I'm familiar with it. So that's where the configuration only setting would come in. So if I turn this on, for example, and save it, and then I go over here to roles and security, it should come up as a list view for me to then assign to, say, a system administrator. And then you would be able to set them up under portal and create a new section or a new list view under, for example, main menu, and it would show up there.
And one more, in our list views, we have noticed that some fields that are available in the systematic list view section and not available in the personal list view sections. Is this something we're able to fix, or should we be contacting a support person for a deeper look?
Yeah, that would be something that, without any context, would be hard to answer off the top of my head. It may be permission-based. There may be some other contributing factor. So I would definitely encourage you to reach out to support for that, and we can take a quick look for you and get back to you with a reasoning and explanation as to why that's occurring for you.
Great. It looks like those are all the questions we have for today. Next, before we go, I just want to remind everyone to mark your calendars for SmartSimple Events in 2018 and to register for the rest of our webinars in April. You can register at smartsimple.com/events. And also save the date for Block Party San Francisco, happening on May 24th, Chicago, June 7th, New York City, September 6th, Nashville, October 17th, and our biggest event of the year, Elevate 2018, October 17th to 19th. And thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to join us for Fundamentals of List Views. We hope you found the material useful. We'd love to hear your feedback on today's webinar and encourage you to fill out the client survey, which will be sent to you after this presentation. If any questions pop up along the way, Nancy and the SmartSimple support team are always here to help. Thanks everyone and have a great day.